So welcome everyone. This is our first Nordic placemaking webinar dedicated to the child-friendly city. My name is Elise Perrault. I work at Future Place Leadership as a researcher and strategist. So we started this series in the fall together with Link Architecture and the Safer Sweden Foundation, just after the completion of one of our projects actually called Nordic Placemaking. And so the goal of this series was to continue discussing about public spaces in the Nordics, but also bring out some of the initiatives and some of the tools that we had identified together. It was in Swedish, but we really enjoyed all these discussions that we had and also the new projects that were brought out to us, which is why we decided to carry on. And this time becoming really truly Nordic, having it in Swedish, having it in English, and also having speakers from the whole Nordic region with us to come to talk to us about their project and what they've been working on. But looking at the list of participants, it seems like we're more than just Nordic right now. I think, Marcus, you counted, we have 30 countries represented in the list of participants today, with people from Ireland, Australia, the US, the Philippines, and so on. So just before we start, I wanted to say a warm welcome to you, old and new Nordic placemakers. I'm sure you're all very familiar with how Zoom works right now. Getting used to using this as a tool for conferences. Just a reminder that you're not going to be able to turn on your cameras and you're not going to be able to turn on your microphones, but please do participate by asking us questions and sharing your thoughts in the chat. We can start already now. I wanted to ask you to bring your thoughts to this webinar's topic by telling us what you think about a child-friendly city. What is it for you and what defines it? Also, while you're doing this, I wanted to tell you that we're going to record this webinar and we'll send you the link afterwards so you can also share that with your colleagues or friends that were not available to participate. I also want to welcome my colleague, Marcus Andersson, who will be co-moderating this session with me. Maybe, Marcus, you want to say a few words to introduce the topic of the day?
Yeah, thanks, Elise. Great pleasure to see you, to see everyone who is participating. My name is Marcus Andersson. I'm a colleague of Elise at Future Place Leadership. And just to say a few words about the importance of the topic that we will discuss here today. It's such an important topic, both from a children perspective, but also from a societal perspective. You have probably heard that a place or a city that is good for children is good for everyone. And I, as a parent living in a city, in my case, city of Stockholm, I can really testify to the importance of children-friendly cities and children-friendly public spaces. Not the least during the pandemic, where many of the public facilities for children have been closed down during lockdown or semi-lockdown in many countries. So I think the public environment, the public space, has kind of been the only place where children can move freely and play and experience new things. So really looking forward to today's discussions and our two speakers and discussing with all of you who are listening. So please continue writing in the chat and I'll give the word back to Elise.
Yes, thank you. So like you understood probably already, the theme of today is children's participation. And with us we have Ingvild Arod Hegna from Doga, Norway, and we have Ahmet Abhay from Riskful Play, Sweden. They will tell us about their project where they've experimented with children's participation and trying to improve the participation of children in the planning and design process of cities. I think it's really interesting, both of their projects, to understand why it's important to better understand the needs of children and what you can bring for more livable cities, like Marcus said. Ingvild, I'm going to stop sharing my screen so you can take over now. Just a few words about you, Ingvild. She's a senior advisor at Design and Architecture Norway, specialized in cooperation and social sustainability. The project that Ingvild is going to present today is called Kids Track, and is now used by many Norwegian municipalities. And it's a tool to map together with children their uses and experiences of the city. Now, to you, Ingvild.
Yes, thank you so much. I will share the screen with you, and I will just change so I can have my notes. Thank you so much for inviting me. It's a very interesting webinar and an important webinar. My name is Ingvild Hegna. I'm a senior advisor at DOGA, Design and Architecture Norway. DOGA is the National Center for Architecture and Design, and a foundation under the Ministry of Trade, Industry and Fisheries. It's also part of the Norwegian Public Policy Implementation System for Increased Innovation. And the organization shall support quality and innovation by using design and architecture to develop environments, products and services. DOGA has been working with children in the city as a topic for many years, and we have also investigated in how they can play an active role in city planning. Some years ago, we also did a pilot project with 3 municipalities, testing out the participation tool made for children called Kids Tracks. And in addition, the last few years, we've also been working on a project to develop a national platform for participation in planning processes. But now I will present the Kids Tracks. The Norwegian Planning and Building Act say that the municipalities shall make sure that all inhabitants shall participate in planning processes, including children. And still, the majority of Norwegian municipalities lack knowledge about the children's needs and wishes and how they use their environment. But doing Kids Tracks can help to convey the children's point of view. Kids should be involved, but why is participation difficult? From the municipality's point of view and others working with planning, participation is often regarded as a challenge. Participation is seen more as a duty, not a resource, and the participation often starts too late and delay the process. There's also a heavy use of public meetings, which means that only the most extrovert residents speak out, which doesn't really capture the average resident's voice. It's also difficult to create commitments because the themes in the planning process they are too big and too abstract. It's also difficult for the citizens to actually understand how the planning process works. And it's difficult for municipalities to transfer the knowledge from the contributions to specific plans. Some facts about the Kids Tracks. It was originally developed as a method by planner Eva Almhjell, together with others in the late 1980s. It was developed as a digital tool by Norsk Form, now DOGA, and revitalized and launched by DOGA in 2014. But first in 2005, so it's been a while. And it's a method for children and youth to participate in planning processes. The children register how they use their neighborhood. It results in mappings, which can be used in planning processes. And it's learning democracy and supporting responsibility skills and participation. The target groups are Norwegian schools and municipalities. Since we relaunched the tool, about 60% of all Norwegian municipalities have used Kids Tracks, and 25,600 kids and more than 700 schools have used it. So I will just give a very short explanation in how it works. It's all on the website, barnetråkk.no, where you can find the guidance and the tool. It's done in the classroom. The kids are about the age of 10 to 16. But first, we recommend that kids to go out and do some research to get to know the area and discuss the issues. And then they go inside and register on the computer.
I en første gjennomgang deles klassen opp i mindre grupper som diskuterer kartet sammen. Så kan den digitale registreringen komme i gang. Som en første øvelse tegner elevene inn sin skolevei på kartet ved å bruke dette ikonet. Deretter vil programmet be barna om å beskrive steder de liker, steder de ikke liker, og hvilke aktiviteter de gjør på de ulike stedene ved å ta i bruk noen av ikonene på venstre side.
Yes, this was edited from the film on the website barnetråkk.no, so you can see the rest of the film there. Afterwards, they create a summary from the class, and when the kids tracks is marked done, the registrations become available to the municipality directly in the specialist tools where they use for planning. So here you can see an example, the summary in mapping, and every spot indicates a point of view from the children. So how can registration from Kids Tracks be a resource in the planning process? It's about gaining the deep understanding and deeper understanding of the place. There is a requirement for densification in our cities and places, which puts pressure on important areas for children to explore. The Kids Tracks can identify areas that are to be kept and not built on, to ensure the children's areas for their physical and mental development and mastery, as well as for other residents' local environmental quality. We also see that some cities and places suffer from lack of identity, as it is developing rapidly and at low costs, and it looks pretty much the same everywhere. And the children are experts on their near surroundings and can provide a local understanding of the place, which can be of great value in developing a plan and a project. It's about building on existing identity and knowledge. Ski municipality is located close to Oslo, and they were one of the 3 pilot municipalities testing out Kids Tracks in our project mentioned. This is the city center, and the red spots indicate danger or barriers, where you can see quite a lot of them here. Problems with access to the city center is most likely also relevant for other citizens, not only the children. The findings also said that children like to use the city center, but they didn't feel safe, and there were only a few places they could actually meet. And you see a concentration of blue spots, which indicates that they spend a lot of time in the big shopping mall in the city center, and they don't have much else, other places to actually meet. So the Kids Tracks confirm that the city center is accessible for cars, not people. The result was that municipality involved the children in planning the city, and they had some suggestions in how to make nice meeting places like this. We found some success criteria experienced through this Kids Tracks project. You need clear frames and budget goals, doing participation without action and results visible for the children afterwards can be very demotivating. Participation must also engage the whole municipality, not only the planners. And involving children is serious and takes time. So you have to make sure you have enough resources and time, and that it's anchored with the politicians and the decision makers. To communicate the results is also very important to engage people, both the participants, but also the decision makers. The washing of data and analyze the findings is crucial to the outcome of the participation process. And the results must also be integrated into maps and knowledge bases systematically. So what did we learn? The lesson 1 is that Kids Tracks is not participation in itself, it's only a tool. To implement the Kids Tracks data from Kids Tracks, it's necessary to analyze them and put it into action. Involving children demands more resources and new routines in the planning process. And new competence is also necessary to facilitate participation both in the municipalities, but also with the developers and planners in general. Lesson 2, doing participation makes a new way of thinking and put focus on social values and quality of life. We experienced that Kids Tracks changed the attitude and the way of thinking among planners, politicians, and other parts. They see the value of listening to people's opinion, and they got good ideas. And the discussion changed from being about high utilization and economy to more a discussion about people and quality of life. So involving children makes participation more fun. So if you want to start doing participation, you should start with the children. It demands some resources. It's very serious. It's a big responsibility, but it's very motivating and the politicians love it. So start with the children. They are very enthusiastic and full of good ideas. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ingvild. So many interesting takeaways, and we will have a chance to discuss these in a bit after the second speaker. If you have questions to Ingvild, please post them in the chat along the way now, and we will bring up your questions after Ahmed's presentation, where we will have a panel discussion. So, moving on to our second speaker. You will speak about a project that has shown how children's participation can help redefine standards for city development. And you are an acrobat, a passionate acrobat, and you are working with the philosophy that everyone can succeed with the right environment and right time when it comes to movement in the public space. You have been a lead developer for parkour facilities internationally and in Sweden, and you are now the project manager of Riskful Play. And that's the initiative that you will talk more about today. So Ahmed, welcome and take the stage, or the screen, as we say nowadays. The floor is yours.
Thank you for having me here, and thank you for the presentation about me. So you can see the screen, right? Just before I start talking. Yeah, I guess it's so. My name is Ahmed, and I work as an activity designer in Riskful Play, a project manager, and it's a project. Basically, is a facility project, and financed by Vallentuna kommun, Vallentuna municipality. Allmänna arvsfonden, one of the biggest funding in Sweden, to projects, and you, together X2 Design, and of course most of Corp and Vallentuna, and a non-profit organization that works with movement, and together with the National Sports Confederation too. That's want to see how can we engage kids more in development of facility and their movement. I usually start by telling about this lovely picture that I love and hate at the same time. This is in kindergarten and in a preschool that an accident happened not long time ago. A kid fell, and it's never fun when kids hurt themselves, of course. the kid didn't hurt himself very bad, and that's very good, of course, and because we don't want kids to hurt themselves. So what happens is that the parents got really angry, and what happened is that there became a problem between the municipality and the parents and the insurance companies that wanted to see something done about this stone. So what happens is they put a fence around it, and it's really interesting because this stone, it's not very high, just about 70 centimeters, and the kids love to play on this stone. It's in the middle of their playground. So what happens if you put a fence around this stone they're always playing? Of course, they start climbing around it, and they had more injuries in 1 week than ever. So the next step was to put a teacher that's standing there and telling the kids they're not allowed to play on the stone because it's dangerous. We see a lot of these parents nowadays. We're not saying that it's only a problem, because of course parents take care of their kids, and so but we see it's more and more that loud parents take over the playgrounds and the public spaces. So we developed in these 2 years we've been working for all of you around the world to how to save your kids. This is our results for 2 years working. Of course not. This is absolutely not what we want to do. We are talking a lot about safe as needed or safe as possible. What do we need when we make a playground or public space? This is one of the questions we are talking about, but also to say that we also talk about risk and danger are really two different things. Where risk is measured, it's like a tree, a kid, when they're climbing, the height become, of course, the danger in the end. But if we learn or we teach the kids, analyze the risk, then they can learn much more and get more confident. More about that on our method, I will talk about it soon. Our vision is to connect the city of Vallentuna, for example, together with the school, with the center of the city, the sport facilities, the nature, and all parts with different movement methods. So wherever you are, you can move and just live a healthy life and see there's always something to try. For example, next to like bicycle lines, we want to put ramps so we can try something new, or the small kids build their own playground. But also we are developing a big facility, so we're doing a lot of small projects to involve the kids and to build a huge facility that will be start building this year, and hopefully we'll finish it next year. It's many parts, so so that's one of the vision. So this is one of the facilities that will be built, and it's based on all the things that kids tells us in different workshops. But I'll tell you about one of the cases, one of the small project that was done last year. So we listen first to everyone in the city and the youth and the kids and different what is missing in the city, and we got a lot of suggestions, and then we make smaller suggestions in a democratic way and make the kids, the youth, vote in different ways to tell us what should we build. And the second step is the architect, and we make different drafts and tell them what they think is it, and change a lot around it and so on. We involve the youth to build with us, and some parts also the younger kids. They are, for example, cleaning the place, putting out the grass, like the synthetic grass and so on. So to make them part of the project, and we also educate the youth so they can teach. It could be skateboarding, parkour, dancing, and so on. So they teach their passion, and we help them with as mentors. And after that, when a project, it's not ending because the facility is still there and still be used spontaneously. The leaders, we send them to different clubs, so they keep developing. This is some picture from the project I was talking about. So you see it's like slacklining, some gymnastic, acrobatics, skateboarding, and so on. So this is one of some pictures. We use a lot of Lego, for example, and we have researchers with us just looking and asking the kids, and we have the architect, Miriam Black, and when we're documenting a lot what they think. So what is their dream playground or public space? What do they need? We record a lot of what they're saying. You see, we have a lot of post-its. We have so many post-its from all the workshops, and they could write anything. Sometimes we just get like ice cream from the smallest kids, that's just really small, or the older kids or the youth. So it's really different. Some of them we're seeing that, okay, we can make small facilities from this, pop-up facilities, and some of them for the big facility. So we use candy sometimes. The biggest problem of the candy, of course, it's hard to document because we have to really be fast. And this actually is a picture from an old project, not from Risk of Play, but in other facility projects we've been using, for example, cookies. One of the things that we've been thinking about, this is from also an old project, is how to engage the girls in different parts of the planning. And this project was actually made just for the girls from start. There's many things to be learned from this project. For example, measurements. Most of the measurements are made for boys, and it's really hard for them to girls to use them. Placement and so on. You can see also here they have to feel all the measurements for what's going to be built. This is the project from the Pink Panther. So it's also become really different. This is a parkour facility, and it's also playground and different things. But the parkour park become really different from other parkour parks, and actually the boys love it too, because it's really different thinking. A lot of rail, for example. When we work, we have this, we call it the participation stair. And you see we can use just information for the kids, or consultation, dialogue, that means we just ask, but we try always to be an influence and co-decision to make sure that they feel actually they own part of the facility when it's built. This is one of our philosophy we use, that if you somewhere start, and usually start with motivation with the kids, then they feel participation and they feel confidence that they can actually give something to the project, and they get self-esteem to be get more motivation. And this could be used in all just in the movement, not only in the planning. Like Elise, Marcus said, that we are really trying to change how the standards here in Europe. We have the European standards, and in Sweden we have the CIS standards that tell, it's actually a recommendation, it's not a law, but almost use the law as a law. And it's becoming a little kind of obstacle for the planning. But I don't only want to be talking about how we want to change this. I want to tell you just one last story, and it's about what is play. And this is a funny story we got from one of the workshops, and it's about a girl and her father, and they were on their way to a playground. So this little girl was hopping and jumping on the different stones on the way there. And the father was very mad, because he was like, come on, we have to go to the playground. But actually, for this girl, those stones and the place she were at, that was her playground. So sometimes the playground for a kid is not as a playground for us as when we think as adults. So involvement have given us a lot of opportunity in this project. Yeah. And this is one of the facilities that I designed before. It's a little more risky play, or more outside of the standard. You see, it's a mix between. So yeah, that's our project. It's a whole involvement of kids, and there's a lot of small stories to tell, but I think I will leave it for the questions.
Thank you so much, both of you. And it's great that you finished with this story. I think, Ahmed, it really brings it together with what Ingrid was saying as well, about the need to rethink about density and rethink about these places that are unplanned and how useful they are for children. I think we're starting to have questions from the audience. Please keep posting them. And in the meantime, I'm gonna ask my first question, I think, to you, Ahmed, because you showed us this this vision of a mobile or active urban environment, and I was wondering if how far you were in achieving this vision, and if it was something that you're working with Vallentuna municipality to have this active urban environment at the scale of the municipality of Vallentuna.
Well, I can only speak about how the Swedish municipality works, and I think it's a little different, almost the same in the Nordic countries, because we have a lot of international listeners here. So you know, there's different parts of the municipality that work with for example, you have the building, and you have for the leisure, and you have for the school, the education, and it's been, as one of the directors of the municipality say, it's been a teaching trip for the whole municipality. Sorry, because different parts of the municipality have different visions, and they work in a different ways. So one of the achievements that it's not easy, I must say, but it's been going very well, because everyone want to listen, and they believe that in the movement of the kids. So the different parts of the municipality, they are starting to talk with each other more and more. It's not they have never been doing that before, but now it's more because we have a common vision. So this they are because when we build in a school, it's not like a public space. There's different rules. So it's always a lot of discussion how to solve different problems, and we got like different ideas. We use different experience from the different parts of the municipality. So it's I must say mostly it has been fun, and it's giving a lot of results, but we can do better, of course.
Thank you.
So working together.
Very good. So we have questions coming up from the attendants, and the first one comes from Elise, another Elise. It's to Ingvild. What are the limitations of kids tracks? When would you not use it, Ingvild?
Wow, that's an interesting question. Well, it's limited in the way that you have to do it at school, because it's organized like that, or it's developed as a tool for education. But the method is you can use for everybody, not only the children, and all ages. So I see a lot of projects where they do use the method also with elderly people, and yeah, so the method is not limited, but the tool itself, the digital tool we made, it's limited. But I think we also recommend to do it in the very early stages in the planning process as well, because it's you can identify these areas in a very early phase without actually where the project hasn't really started yet. So it's but also you can use it more detailed planning when you can actually recognize the paths and the more detailed use of the spaces in the neighborhood. So I don't think I wouldn't say there are any limits. I think it's an important registration.
That's interesting to note that it's a tool that can be used for involvement for other groups as well. So it's not limited to kids only.
No, not the tool itself, but the method. You can do it mapping, and you can use other apps and things that you can to share.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot. Elise.
Yeah, on the question of age as well, there are questions about what age of children do you work with? Do you work also with preschoolers? And I think I'm going to follow up on that and ask you both, do you see any difference in terms of needs from, let's say, 5 years old and 18 years old, since it's the definition of children is quite wide? And how can we answer all of these needs in the way we plan cities?
Yeah, well, from my experience is that, well, we have this tool we have developed is only for school kids, so we don't have the preschool children, but we know that the preschools also use the method more sort of analog, so you can do the same, but it's not, I don't have the experience with that small kids, but when it comes to kids, children and youth, it's different. So you need to do different process with the children and the young people, or the elderly young people, youth. So yeah, I forgot the last part of the question, but I think it's you have to. There are differences, so you have to be very specific on the age it's yeah.
Okay. What about you?
Yeah, I think of course it's different from for the different ages, of course, and for the youngest, we can't tell them things. For example, we can't tell them about what the playground is, because they will just take our ideas if they are like 5 years old, and because they just copy, and it's hard to make them go creative. So what we have been doing, for example, is doing workshops where they move together with us. We do different physical activities, and when we reach them, we ask them what they think about like the different movements and so on. But we of course, like once again, it's different for different ages. So different ages expect different workshops and different methods. And I think the most part that to think about is it's asking parents what their kids want, and that's maybe the most thing we try not to do, because it usually gives what the parents, and that's maybe not the results what we want. But in the end, we are all kids somehow, the inner child in us. So I think, yeah.
There's actually somebody in the chat saying exactly this. Spontaneity is the key word. We all want to play no matter the age. I think that summarizes what you were saying, Ahmed, as well.
And Ahmed, when you say that parents can sometimes decide for the kids, I'm thinking about a football game where the kids play and the parents are standing next to the football field, and they get so engaged, so they almost engage in the football match. So like having the barriers where the parents are and the kids are is so important. So Ahmed, a question to you from Liselott about initiation of projects. Did you ever have children finding you and initiating projects?
Oh, I hope I understand the question right. That you mean that the kids asking us about?
Exactly. Do they come forward with ideas to you?
Well, now that the kids and the people, the municipality, I mean, everyone lives in Vallentuna, they know about the project. We have been getting a lot of ideas that kids write. For example, they want pump tracks and how they send pictures, and so yeah, so we got a lot of that. I think I just want to add something that wasn't asked. I think kids that have disability, and those may be the kids that we really try to reach most, because those are the kids that are not telling us what they want. So we have been, but yeah, we have been getting a lot of, but the problem is maybe that now that everyone knows that they can send suggestions, that could be some disappointed because we can do everything, because it's, we have really to be clear what can be done. So we try to choose the bigger projects that's most asked about.
Okay, good.
I have a question from Caroline. In what ways do you think the voices of more silent and introvert kids and teenagers can be heard in these kind of projects? And I think both of you maybe can answer that, because it's also very much related to our roles as facilitators. How do we conduct this type of dialogues with children and make sure that all of them are included as well?
Maybe Ingrid can start. I
could just start. It's a very important question, and in our project, the Kids Tracks, then we do it in the classroom in every school. So all the pupils are speaking out and making their point of view. So I think it's very representative of the population like this, and it's a very important to have small groups and let people allow the children to speak, even though they are so they feel comfortable speaking out, and also have adults, teachers, and things that can help them to express themselves in a way which are comfortable for them. So I think the school as an arena is very good for this kind of participation. To also see the children who normally don't speak out and are active. So yeah, I think that's.
Ahmed.
Yeah, thank you, Ingrid. That was a good answer also. I think the same, but we work a lot with the schools, and there we reach many different kids, but we also try to work with the municipality. For example, we know that there's, for example, a school that work with kids with special needs, and so we try to go there and ask for suggestions, and so we try to be active to reach them. Like I think I said it before, it's one of the groups that are very important in the project that we're working with, because we think that, but also one of the pillars in the foundation of the project, together with the foundation that is working with kids with disabilities, for example, and special needs and so on.
Good, thank you both. Two questions for Ingvild. The first one is from Elizabeth. In the example you gave about creating more meeting places for children, how were children involved in the design process for those specific designs? Did children contribute ideas to those structures? And the follow-up question is, what are the challenges you encounter in implementing the process of mapping with the kids in terms of resources, technology, bureaucracy, trust, and so on and so forth?
So the first question, it's in Ski and also in other municipalities. They have been working after a model with that we worked in a project in Doga also, working together with the architects. So I can also send a link to that project, which tells you how the process was. So they were doing the kids tracks together with architects, and they were doing models and drawings, and the architects sort of translated their ideas into these structures in the courtyard. So that's how they did it in this particular project. But also, I think the second question is, there are a lot of challenges to implement the data and actually make it into real projects. I think it's more the habits or the culture in the municipalities that needs to be changed, that you need to sort of redesign the process and spend more time doing the research, this research phase and participation early stages in the planning process so it won't sort of be a problem later, because very often when you have all the data and all the participation late, it's really difficult to do anything about it. So there are lots of challenges that are not solved like that, but it's something that has to be changed. You have to sort of do it gradually. It has to be changed.
Thank you so much, Ingvild. I'm just trying to pick one last question to conclude. We had a lot of very interesting questions and not enough time. So maybe we can go through them after the event and get back to you, see if we can provide some answers. And I think in any case, you had such good inputs at the beginning that we should also follow up on that and send you, all participants, the answer that you brought. But maybe as a conclusion, there was an interesting question about how teenagers view or what are teenagers' opinions about their ideal city. Maybe both of you can say a few key words, Ahmed and Ingvild, and we can conclude on this. What's the ideal city for teenagers?
Well, okay, I just think that it needs to be a bigger variation of spaces to play and be in. They are not enough variation, and it needs to be developed. No, sorry. You can tell Ahmed.
Yes, sure. Well, what is the ideal city? I think one of the experiences I have with me, for example, from parkour, because we've been working many years with these type of facilities. What is the perfect facility? What is the perfect? And I think the ideal place is where you feel welcome, actually, that you can somehow manage something yourself, that you can feel something possible, something different levels for everyone, and to listen, actually, because I've been thinking a lot about, so what does the youth want, what the teens want, or how does it look today? I'm almost 35 years. I feel like, am I old to understand what? Because when I was younger, I was always thinking, how does this planning work and so on. So I tried to relate to my old self, but I see that it's not so much different. It's like I said, it's more about the ideal city is to have places to be able to move, and there's different levels, so everyone can be there. And most importantly, maybe if there's a difference, if you can say difference between before and now, and the ideal is social places that you can, because now everyone have a phone in their hand, and maybe some of the listeners argue now that maybe we should remove this phone more and start moving without it. But I think it's more about maybe making sure that if we can make the youth or teens go out and move or experience, then maybe we have to implement those new things in the new facilities. But otherwise, I think make sure there's something for everyone.
Yeah. And I just wanted to say that we have experienced quite a lot of different use of the spaces now in this period, the last year with the pandemic. Also, you can see how the spaces are used with all groups of people, all the old people and the young people. And I think the mixture of use by different ages is really, really good and important. And also for the kids they feel safe when there are also adults in there. They shouldn't sort of interrupt the play but they should be there, and that's also a big value. So a mix of spaces and big social community. Yeah, that's.
Yeah, thank you.
Can I please say one last thing? It's maybe too egoistic to say, but I just want to share, because I really love, like I say, the movement and acrobatic, and I've been part of the parkour scene for many years. And Sweden and Denmark have been developing these kind of facilities, and because there's not enough information about them, I'm trying to be an ambassador here, because there's so many listeners there. And we're happy to share some information from the studies and the different facilities that have been built here in the Nordic. I think it's very unique, as we've been talking with the international community. So it's every time I do like a presentation about parkour and motor skill movement, especially parkour, there's like, where's the more information? So we're happy to share that with you if you're interested. Just send it an email.
Of course, yeah.
We'll definitely follow up. There are so many great questions in the chat still that we haven't had time to discuss. We'll follow up on those and all the good ideas and links and other things that you can share, Ingvild and Ahmed, is much appreciated. So 50 minutes is up. Time flies. It's been great discussions. If we would give our main takeaways from this webinar, I think you both underscored and really emphasized the need to work with participation early on. We need to involve kids from the very start. And if we look at how our public consultation processes are structured, we tend to come up with ideas and then we go and ask people, do you like these ideas? Rather than ask, what would you like to do with this public space? So that's true participation, which I think you both talked about. You show this staircase, Ahmed, where you go from informing and consultation to influence and co-decision, and how you aim to be at the top of this staircase and really open up for co-decision and at least influence from the kids. And I think, Ingvild, you said that it's also much more fun if you involve kids and work with kids, that even politicians think it's more fun to work with this process. And that's one takeaway that I bring from this. And I think you both also said that kids, they are not one homogeneous group in itself. Different ages may have different needs. Kids or children with disabilities may need to be more proactively invited to participate. And I think that's also an important takeaway. So thank you so much. I'll give the word to Elise, and you will wrap up and tell us about next time, which will be in 6 weeks.
Yeah, thank you, Marcus, for your takeaway. Yeah, we're going to continue with webinars on child-friendly cities. So the next one is set for the 16th of March, but we'll send you invitations anyways. And we hope to see you again in 6 weeks to continue discussing these very interesting and needed topics with us. And of course, we'll share with you the content of the chat and additional information by the speakers. One last thing too, if you want to reach out to us, we're always working to map new actors and projects that are involved with placemaking in general, and in this case, children's participation and child-friendly cities. So don't hesitate to reach out and send us your projects, inspiring cases, methods, and so on. That's really nice for us. Thank you, Ahmed. Thank you, Ingvild, for sharing your experience and making it so practical and full with anecdotes as well. I'm sure, I mean, it seems like everybody really appreciated it. So thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
See you soon.
See you.
See you.